Well, welcome to Walk Through Voices. If you're reading through the Bible with us this year, this week we've got a lot of the book of Ezekiel left. But then toward the end of this week, you get to turn the page to a brand new book, the book of Daniel. And the book of Daniel has got to be one of my all-time favorites. It's this wonderful combination of prophecies, some of which are still future-oriented even this day, but also it's grounded in history, and there's a real plot unfolding in the book. You know, when the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom of Israel, they scattered them, and they thought they're a lot less likely to rebel if they're scattered throughout our empire. Babylon had a different idea when they conquered the southern kingdom, Judah. They scooped up the best and the brightest of that generation and who they perceived to be future leaders, and they exiled them to Babylon for 70 years. Daniel was one of those folks, and that's what this book is all about, is that time in history plus looking forward to the future. And there's a couple of my all-time favorite stories. If you had the privilege of growing up in church and going to Sunday school, I'll bet your heart beat fast when you heard about Daniel in the lion's den, or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego being thrown into the fiery furnace. You know, those stories, even if you had the blessing of learning them as kids, you need to go back and look at them again as an adult, because there's lessons that we miss that weren't a part of the simple version of the story we learned. In chapter 3, the king, Nebuchadnezzar, had issued an edict, and he said, everyone must bow. He had a golden image made, and he said people of all nations, all languages need to bow down. And some of his advisors came to him, and remember the Jews who had been exiled there from the southern kingdom, most of them had merged pretty well into society, but there's still this tension between who do we serve? The one true God that we believe exists, or the multiple gods, including Nebuchadnezzar, who viewed himself as a god. And word comes to Nebuchadnezzar that some of these Jews are in rebellion against you. And Nebuchadnezzar goes, who? And he hears about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He's familiar with them, and he calls them in. And he says, this can't be true, right? Tell me this is just a rumor. And they say to him in chapter 3, verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. And the king loses his temper, and he has the furnace heated up so hot that even the attendants who throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in there, some of them are burned to death. But as Nebuchadnezzar looks inside the furnace, he sees not 3 but 4 figures. God himself has come to the aid of these 3 guys. Many scholars believe this is a pre-incarnate, before Jesus came to earth in Bethlehem as a baby, that this was Jesus, who's just as eternal as the Father and Spirit, that this was Jesus himself in the furnace with them. And they're supernaturally spared. And Nebuchadnezzar even says, wow, this God whom you serve must be the real deal. Everyone in the empire, everyone of all languages, listen to this, stop persecuting these people. You know, that's pretty much all the story we got growing up. That's a lot. But there's one verse in there that, unless you're looking for it, you don't see it. It's chapter 3, verse 18. After they say, you know, God is able. We think God's going to deliver us. But look at verse 18. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. We know our God is able. We think that he's going to do it. But you know what? Even if he doesn't, we're still all in. You know, I read that, and there are people that our ministry works with in different parts of the world who literally are living in situations like that. The environment is that hostile. And that's hard for me to relate to, sitting here in the comfort of Atlanta, Georgia. Oh yeah, there's some resistance to the gospel. There's some conflicts going on in our country, but nothing like that. And I'm inspired both by Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and the contemporary parallels to that that I see in some of the men and women I get to work with. I believe God will deliver us. I know that He's able. I know He could cure this cancer. I know He could reconcile this relationship. I know He could reverse the negative trend in our business. All of those things. I know He could. And in fact, I think He will. But even if He doesn't, there's an agenda that's so much bigger than my life right now. And I choose to go all in with a God like that. I hope this not just encourages you, but inspires you to think about your own commitment. Because sometimes God answers our prayers like we hope, and sometimes He's got a whole plan that we can't even comprehend. Even if He doesn't, I'm all in. I'm not there yet. I want to be there. And I invite you to just continue in this adventure with us. We'll see you next week on Walk Through Voices. But let's be this kind of folks who take a stand for Jesus Christ in our generation right now today. We'll see you next time.